Good morning, everyone. We are going to begin our bell chant this morning. It's going to be on page 24 and 25, Invocation of the Names of the Bodhisattvas. And before we begin this chant, consider clearing your mind and coming to the present moment. We are connecting with the idea of the qualities that these bodhisattvas represent and how we can emulate more of these qualities in our day-to-day life. We invoke your name, Avalokiteshvara. We aspire to learn your way of listening in order to help relieve the suffering in the world. You know how to listen in order to understand. We invoke your name in order to practice listening with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will sit and listen without any prejudice. We will sit and listen without judging or reacting. We will sit and listen in order to understand. We will sit and listen so attentively that we will be able to hear what the other person is saying and also what is being left unsaid. We know that just by listening deeply, we already alleviate a great deal of pain and suffering in the other person. We invoke your name, Manjushri. We aspire to learn your way, which is to be still and to look deeply into the heart of things and into the hearts of people. We will look with all our attention and open-heartedness. We will look with unprejudiced eyes. We will look without judging or reacting. We will look deeply so that we will be able to see and understand the roots of suffering and the impermanent and selfless nature of all that is. We will practice your way of using the sword of understanding to cut through the bonds of suffering, thus freeing ourselves and other species. We invoke your name, Samantabhadra. We aspire to practice your vow to act with the eyes and heart of compassion, to bring joy to one person in the morning and to ease the pain of one person in the afternoon. We know that the happiness of others is our own happiness, and we aspire to practice joy on the path of service. We know that every word, every look, every action, and every smile can bring happiness to others. We know that if we practice wholeheartedly, we ourselves may become an inexhaustible source of peace and joy for our loved ones and for all species. We invoke your name, Kshitigarbha. We aspire to learn your way of being present where there is darkness, suffering, oppression, and despair, so we can bring light, hope, relief, and liberation to those places. We are determined not to forget about or abandon those in desperate situations. We will do our best to establish contact with those who cannot find a way out of their suffering, those whose cries for help, justice, equality, and human rights are not being heard. We know that hell can be found in many places on earth. We will do our best not to contribute to creating more hells on earth, and we will help transform the hells that already exist. We will practice in order to realize the qualities of perseverance and stability, so that, like the earth, we can always be supportive and faithful to those in need. We invoke your name, Sada Paributta. We aspire to learn your way of looking deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination in order to see the true qualities of others. Whenever you meet anyone, you bow respectfully and say in appreciation, "I respect you deeply. You are a future Buddha." We vow to look deeply into ourselves and to recognize the positive qualities that are there. And to love ourselves. We vow only to water positive seeds in ourselves and in those around us. By doing so, our thoughts, words, and deeds will give rise to self-confidence and acceptance of ourselves, our children, grandchildren, and all those we know. We vow to look deeply with the eyes of non-discrimination to see that the joy and success of the other person is also our joy and success. We vow to behave and to speak with humility and respect. We vow to practice loving speech to help people who underestimate themselves see that they are wonders of the universe. We know that only when we are able to transcend the barriers of a separate self shall we be able to transform the superiority, inferiority, and equality complexes and realize true happiness and freedom. We will return to noble silence. At this time, I'd like to invite up our incense volunteers. And if you'll turn to page 2 in your Sunday booklet, we will chant the incense offering Gatha together. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning. Great to see you all. I'm Igye Sue, and I'm facilitating a talk that will be given by Reverend Shuji a little bit here in just a little bit. So a few reminders before we begin service today. If you need to use the restroom and this is your first time being here, they're just on the other side of those curtains. There's also a restroom downstairs, and there's a water fountain place where you can access some water. There's cups down there as well. I don't see any small children in the Sangha today, but if you are an adult and need time away, there's Legos downstairs if you need a little bit of a distraction. When we chant together this morning, see if you can clear your mind. Take a few deep breaths, come back to the present moment, and really consider why we're chanting the things that we chant. I think often we start to go into this like robotic, I'm just going to chant the same thing because I already know the words, and or I'm too busy thinking about, am I doing it right if this is the first time I'm doing it? Really think about why. Why is it these are the things that we've chosen to represent when we're thinking about our practice, because there's a lot of wisdom in them. And,
You could study them for a long time and still not fully understand them. So really take the time to come back to what that means. And just lastly, if you can refrain from walking in front of the dais. Today, since we have our folk in from dial-up kind of, I think my words are wrong. I'm speaking like as if I'm from the 90s. Maybe it's all the 90s that tapes that I've been listening to. We've got our virtual speaker today. There is a camera up here that's pointed at the Sangha, so she can kind of see everybody. So if you can refrain from walking in front and keep it around the back, that would be really helpful. And let's stand up and greet each other.
May the
extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, no extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of laying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Prajna, paramita, hridaya, sutra.
I'd like to welcome Shuji.
Good morning. I see a few little faces. Hello. And I see lots of I see a few faces online, but I see mostly what I see little Buddhists sitting on their pillows. That's how I take the Zoom generic person. It's like, so a bunch of little Buddhists sitting on their pillows. I miss you guys. I'll be there sometime in May to bestow a great honor on Sun Shin. And I hope to see you all in person and many more of you. I have been telling people for a while how much I enjoy retirement. And sometimes I actually stick to that. But sometimes people talk me into things. Last summer, 2 people talked me into a sewing project. One, I'm getting ordained in May. Can you do a whole ordination outfit for me? The 2 jubans, the 2 kimonos, the samwe, all the stuff we wear under our Kesa. And I thought, yeah, May's a long time from now. So I said, sure, no problem. And suddenly May crept up and it's like, wow. No, I think is in April. And I thought, oh, man, why didn't I say, no, I'm retired? But now it's done. He got it. Happy, ready for ordination. And it's like, that felt good. Another person, an old friend of mine, who's getting Dharma transmitted, which you'll learn all about in May, because that's Sunshin's ceremony, and neurological issues with his hands, and he can't sew a Kesa of his own. Can you sew my brown Kesa? And I did his black, and I said, sure, no problem. Not until November. That's next November. I'm sewing away. And long introduction. Suddenly it's moved up to May, so here I am. Oh, so much for retirement. And then a few weeks ago, Sunshin called and said, would you like to do a Dharma talk? I haven't done a Dharma talk for about a couple of years now. Sure. So pulled out of retirement once more. And it's like, oh, what am I going to talk about? Somebody from your Sangha, I mentioned I'm doing a Dharma talk, and it's like, oh, do a political one. It's like, no, I'm going to do one on puppy dogs and butterflies. And that was our code word in Shasta Abbey, is we're getting too deep in the woods here. And especially when lay people would start talking, a senior priest would come and say, puppy dogs and butterflies. I want a nice, light conversation. And I thought, what do I want to talk about? The only thing I want to talk about is quilting. That's my happy place now. Quilting. I thought, whoa, what's the Dharma in quilting? I couldn't see any. No, it's just fun and games. And I was at the gym doing my plodding along, trying to keep my knees healthy. And a song by Aesop Rock came on, Daylight. And the chorus is, all I ever wanted to do was take apart the pieces of today and put them back together my way. All I ever wanted to do is take apart the pieces of the day and put them back together my way. I thought, ooh, there's Dharma in that. That's the story of my life. If I could only put everything back together my way. And I suddenly thought, that's quilting. Sunshin really wanted me to do a talk on the Kesa, because he's there. Sunshin is heavily involved with making their brown Kesa right now. I said, I don't want to talk about the Kesa. I want to talk about quilting. But there's a lot of overlapping in it, interconnection. My current long-term project, oh, this is it. This is why I have to go to the gym. This book is almost too heavy to pick up, is The Crazy Quilt. American's Glorious Quilt. On the cover is a crazy quilt, because it is an amazing tradition. It kind of started with when usually women at the time, when a young woman got married, her church group, her church buddies would get together and make her a quilt to take with her wherever she went. And because it was for weddings, you pulled out all your special scraps, that little piece of black velvet, an old dressy dress you could no longer wear. It's lovely red velvet and that lace, and you put it all together. And every woman would make a 12 by 12 inch square. And then they'd all sew them together and make a beautiful quilt. The fancy fabrics, embroidery, and I'm going to show this to you. I have no idea if you'll be able to see it at all. Let's see. I don't know if you can see it, but the pieces aren't symmetrical. They're just a scrap. You have a scrap this shape, that's the shape you use. And between every scrap, you put beautiful embroidery. And if you have a big piece of not quite so fancy fabric, you'll embroider a flower, birds, insects, and you'll write your name on it. And the one I showed you had Betsy, Jamie, Chelsea. Chelsea is in heaven. Emmanuel, Ida, Murray, Agnes, with all flowers. So you as a young woman, take this quilt with you and you move away, you have all your friends with you. And you don't put it on your bed because it's so special. You don't use it every day because it's so special. I went to I've totally lost my place in my, I always type it out and I lose my place and I just go. I went to a crazy quilt exhibit in San Francisco once. Talk about meeting of my peers. A bunch of mostly old ladies. There were a few guys there because she, he, her, him, them, there are all deciding that this is a beautiful, beautiful thing and we're all going to look at it. The poor guards, it's like we'd get close. We had magnifying glass provided. We'd get close and look, and the guards would say, back up, back up. None of us would ever touch them because we knew what treasures they were. But we'd point out little Easter eggs. Look at that bird down there in the corner, so tiny. You'd have to really look at it. These quilts were taking scraps that normal people would have thrown away. What's this 2 inches of lace ever going to do? We're saving it for our next crazy quilt. Little piece of velvet. What are we going to do with it? It's saving for our crazy quilt. All these scraps that should have been thrown away. Old dresses. This was my wedding dress. I'm going to put a piece of my wedding dress in this wedding quilt. Your community all put together. All these women are taking apart the day, this day, and putting it back together their way as a beautiful, crazy quilt. And it's like, oh, I may only get a crazy quilt pillow. And I'm not going to rush through it. I'm going to do one 12-inch piece and put it away. Put it by my TV table, so when my back hurts and I just need to sit on my sofa, put my feet up, I'll do one line of beautiful embroidery. The chicken feet along the seam, the blanket stitch along the seam, and all these other stitches, I have no idea what they are. Gonna have to do some research. Take it slow. And that's kind of what, I wore my Kesa today so you could see it. That is kind of what a Kesa is supposed to be. A new monk is supposed to wander around, walk around town, walk from here to another city. Gunga, walk to Grand Rapids. Pick up all the stuff you see along the street. Little pieces of, at that point, they were mostly fabric. And put it together and say, yes, this is my robe, that everyone that sees it will know. I am a Buddhist monk. I think if you do it today, I'm going to not go into that. Originally, you were ordained with 3 robes and a bowl. The first robe was a 5-row Kesa, and that was basically your underwear robe. Close to the body. Your next robe was the 7-row Kesa, and that's what we wear, and I think that's what you wear there. Just your basic, put it around, expose your arm, and that was your clothes. In India, that was okay. Your third robe was the 9-row Kesa, and that was heavy. It was your blanket. It was your wraparound when it was raining. It was your sunshade. It was your house, whatever you needed. We still have the 9-row Kesa, but suddenly it's become our formal robe. But it's lined, so it is heavy. But we no longer sleep on our Kesas. We no longer use them as coats. And as we moved up north, we as Buddhists with the little B, everybody, we put clothes underneath. And the Korean Buddhist robes are great because they're quilted, because it gets really cold. And if the Buddhist monk had to just wear his little 7-row as underwear, and your 5-row is underwear and your 7-row is your clothes, they didn't make shoes, you would get very cold. You'd freeze, and monks would die out. Literally, the monks would die out. So we adapted. We put clothes underneath. But we still keep the Kesa in one form or other. This piece of fabric that we wrap around us are pretty much in all Buddhist traditions. We don't use scraps anymore for Buddhist robes. Now, if a new monk would walk around, pick up things off the ground, their robe would be made out of most likely McDonald's wrappers. Might be interesting. It'd be an interesting showpiece as what our traditional robe would be. And it'd be a great comment on disposable societies. Put a few styrofoam cups in there. Put all the garbage you find on the road. I'm sure there'd be some plastic spoons. Nothing you'd want to wear as a real garment. But we go to the store, we buy fabric, put it together. And then, as now, it's nice to have people help you. Sun Shin is very lucky, machine stitched. I'm not requiring them to hand stitch, but also they have a kind of quilters guild. Anybody, I'll call it a quilters guild because that's the words I'm used to. A few guys, a few women get together, a few people get together and make beautiful quilts. I've met with them. They're wonderful. I've stayed with them in their homes. Wonderful people. They're all helping Sun Shin because the Kesa should be a community object. So when Sun Shin puts his Kesa on his head, wrapping myself in Buddhist teachings, I vow to free all beings. It's not I alone am doing this. It's no, we're together. And when that Kesa goes on their head, the whole Sangha is sitting here, wrapping ourselves in Buddhist teaching. And that's a nice thing about, I'll say, quilting and Kesa sewing. One of my first, I'm terribly sorry, I forgot to set my time. If I ramble too long, somebody say, okay, cut it out. We're ready for tea. One of my first quilt quotes I've ever heard was, and I can hardly say it without crying, our foremothers made the quilts as fast as they could so their families wouldn't freeze, and as beautiful as they could so their hearts wouldn't freeze. And I'd also like to add, they did it together so their souls wouldn't freeze, so they wouldn't be alone. My grandmother grew up northern Kansas. Her closest house was a mile away. Her cousin lived. She lived there her whole life. She was born, had her kids there, and died all within 20 miles of where she was born. The prairie was vast and lonely. They got together and did their quilting circles. That kept her sanity. They had to use what they could because the Kansas farmers at that time were not wealthy. Church ladies. And I have 2 of my grandmother's quilts now, and they are treasured. One I keep on my bed, and it's a summer quilt. And as I pull it up, sometimes I can hear threads go. And I thought, yep, it's going to be compost one of these days. But the other quilt is right now in my closet, folded up properly in a plastic bag, which it shouldn't be in plastic. But at some point, my son will get it, and it will be hung up on the wall and shown as a piece of art, which it is. One of the quilts I grew up with, big woolen squares, all the same size, 4x9, 5x9, an odd shape. I often wondered where that came from. And I learned that an old tailor went out of business. And he gave my grandmother all of his old suit samples. So you could go to that tailor and buy a suit and choose your fabric. And here's a sample of the wool. Now, you'd think that would be garbage. You'd think it'd just be something, who wants all these little scraps of fabric? My older sister got it, and I was talking to her not long ago, and she said it just literally fell apart, so we tossed it. I thought, yeah, those tailor scraps kept us warm, my family warm, for over 85 years. It was garbage. And if you rip apart some of my grandmother's old quilts, inside is another old quilt. My quilt that rips when I pull it up. I could put a new backing on it, a new cover on it, and make a new quilt. You just keep recycling. You pick apart this day and put it back together in a way that will keep your family warm for 85 years. Whew. But impermanence, it's not going to last forever. My beautiful grandmother's necktie quilt, which is put in a closet, I could pull it out and find out that bugs got in it, and it's gone. My son will put it up, and the light will hit it. It's lived in a cedar closet its whole life. It has never been exposed to sun. It's made out of 1920s and 1930s and a few 1940s silk neckties. Sun's going to hit that, and it is going to dissolve. But until it does, may take 50 years to dissolve, it will be a beautiful quilt. Old teacher of mine died not long ago. Well, two teachers died. And I didn't get anything from Nonan, which I would love one of his old Kesas or something. Didn't get anything from Nonan. But in the mail, suddenly I got an old Rokasu, the small Kesa that I made Kyoki years ago somebody went to Thailand and got a Thai monk's robe and brought it to Nonan. He gave it to me, and I made a bunch of Rokasus out of it. monk's robe, Kesa, Rakusu, Kyoki, Jisen, and me again. I don't know. I suppose when I go, somebody's going to give Sunshin a box of mild robes and stuff, and they're going to have to decide what I'm going to do with that. Hopefully they'll have a student. You're special. This is my teacher's Rakusu. It's dirty. It's kind of gross. Beautiful calligraphy on the back. You know? And eventually it'll get lost. It'll get tossed. One of my students committed suicide. I have their own Rakusu. What am I going to do with it? None of his family wanted it because they were good Catholics and thought that was a mark of the devil or something. I don't know. It will probably get recycled in some way. You're supposed to burn them and scatter the ashes. And maybe that's what I should do with all my old Rakusus and Kesas. I don't know. Or I'll just leave them for somebody else to deal with. All I ever wanted to do is take apart the pieces of the day and put them back together my way. And I think back of things I've done that I wish I would have done differently. They're done. They're gone. But this day, I can find something or someone that doesn't think they're worthy of being here. And that's where this Dharma gets hard. You wake up and you look yourself in the mirror and say, I just don't want to face today. Your partner, your friend, your relative, the person sitting next to you on the cushion. Oh, let's take apart this day, this sad day, and put it back together by going down and having tea. Put it back together my way. Put it back together Buddha's way. Put it back together a quilter's way. Put it back together in a way that you can wrap yourself in Buddhist teaching and free all beings. I forget, what does your translation say? Your compassion verse, what's the last line of it? I can't find it right away. Somebody can help me out. Yell it out.
I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Well, the benefit of all sentient beings. My tradition, we kick sentient out of there. Who am I to judge whether somebody's sentient or not? Probably should wind it up. Your teacher, your old teacher, Duke Wan, and I once had a discussion because my tradition, we don't say sentient beings. Who am I to judge? Buddha said, what exactly is a sentient being? Well, Andrew Jackson didn't consider Native Americans sentient beings. Our Constitution puts African Americans as only 1/3 of a person. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say either of those things are true. And my favorite, most recent Buddhist book is The Secret Life of Trees. A tree's dying, they shoot all their energy first to their offspring and then to their nearest trees. It's like, I'm dying. I don't need this anymore. Poosh. And they communicate through fungus. Oh, does that mean the trees aren't sentient beings? Does that mean fungus? Could they be sentient beings? We had a pet pig, Herkimer. You never name your food. We lived on a farm. The Herkimer was the nicest pig. My little sister would ride around on it because she was small. And one of my favorite pictures of her, she's sitting on Herkimer holding a chicken. It's like, yeah, that's Alice. The day my dad was going to butcher it, it became vicious. Herkimer knew in 5 hours he'd be in our freezer. And he did not want to go. And he looked at you like, we're friends. Why are you doing this to me? Is that a sentient being? I'm not going to say he didn't know that. So, blah, 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 blah. Long story. I vow to free all beings. Herkimer, the dying tree, the fungus on the tree's root, they all need to be free from suffering, especially in this world where we make our what we consider non-sentient beings suffer so much. Wrap ourselves in Buddhist teaching. Take apart the day and put it together in a way that we free all beings. You can still say sentient beings. I'm not saying you can't. But in your mind, just remember, I'm not going to judge the tree as a non-sentient being, so they shouldn't be free from suffering. And I could blah, blah, blah for another 45 minutes on freeing all beings. But some of you are sitting in uncomfortable positions. And one last thing. My tradition, we had Dharma talks, an hour, hour and a half, Japanese. You talk until the poor Sangha is unable to sit any longer. And I went to a community of priests, Katagiri, my lineage. And I said, this Grand Rapids Buddhist temple, they make me give 15-minute Dharma talks. Can you believe that? 3 or 4 of them went. And a woman I truly admire said, good, you stick to the point and you can't vary. That's really good practice. So I'm going to take Taigen's Roshi's word, and I'm going to say that I'm going to look and see what I had for closing, because I do write this out. I do plan it, even though I'm just babbling. I have nothing special as a closing, so I'm just going to say, have a wonderful, peaceful day, as it is, and do whatever you can to make your day and everybody else's wrapping yourselves in Buddhist teaching. Peace.
Thank you so much, Shuji, for giving that talk and for being with us today. I know there are many in the community who really enjoy having the opportunity to hear you speak, so thank you. We'll do a short meditation. So please stretch a little bit. If you need to stand up for a second, stretch it out, get your body prepared for meditation. And if we could get those lights down. A few reminders on how to sit. Legs should be in a comfortable position. If you're sitting in a chair, feet flat on the floor. Hands can be on your lap, facing up or facing down, or right hand on top of the left hand in your lap. Spine should be straight, pulled up, just tucking in the belly button slightly. Shoulders should relax down the back. Neck should be long, chin tucked just slightly. Lips should rest at the back of the teeth. Soften the area around the eyes. And bring your focus to your breath. At this time, we will have our joys and concerns. This is an opportunity for you to share what's happening in your life, if you'd like to, with the Sangha, so we can hold space for you. I am going to begin with a concern that I'd like to share for one of our Sangha members. If you're familiar with Jen Waite and her son Xander, they recently lost her grandfather, or her father Delbert, his grandfather. So please keep them in your thoughts as they navigate this time.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ambo, or Kate, and what I want to share is that my 21-year-old grandson, Alex, was placed on the kidney transplant list this week. So that's exciting news, and I hope he doesn't have to be there too long. He also needs to start dialysis, and his parents are going to be trained so that they can do his dialysis at home. Hoping that he can lead in sort of an average life, have a job and not have to go in for dialysis 3 times a week. So I'm hoping that all works well for them. Please hold them in your heart as they go through this journey. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler. Nothing too crazy, but I just wanted to share that the past 2 weeks, I've almost not made it here. I'm tired and I want to sleep, but then I know that it'll be good for me. And then I come and it is, and I have a really good day after. So I just want to share that. I'm thankful for that and thankful for the space and everyone here.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Shane, or Jueshin Su is my Dharma name. I go by either. It's so good to be back. It's been a while since I've been here. I didn't know Shuji was giving the talk, so that was all an added bonus. And I just wanted to share that I have a job promotion interview on Monday that I'm really excited about, and just keep me in your thoughts and root me on. I feel pretty good about it, so thank you.
Hello. Hi, Sangsa is what you said? Sangha. Okay, sorry. My name is Mo, and I've been here before, not too many times, but yeah, I'm just a college student who is stressed out at the moment, in the middle of the semester, and just dealing with a lot of things that I'm responsible for, such as, living on my own and helping around the apartment, for my roommate, or, dealing with my studies, or even personal projects I'm working on. And I also turned 22 at the end of this month, which is crazy to me. So I'm just kind of I don't know, just been going through a lot, mentally. I don't know, very stressed. So just keep me in your thoughts, I guess. I don't know.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Chungo Siu, or Ashton. A joy and a concern. the concern, my mother-in-law is struggling with some gastrointestinal issues. She was admitted and has been released from the hospital, but is very weak right now, has some upcoming surgeries. And she's also caretaking for my grandmother-in-law, so there's a lot going on there. So please keep them in your thoughts and hearts. On a joyful note, I just got back from a wonderful vacation with my family in Hawaii. It was a really special opportunity for us. Never thought I'd have that kind of an opportunity. We got to see whales and swim with turtles, and it was just lovely. And I just want to give also a shout out to Venerable Shuji for the talk. I am blown away that they interweaved Aesop Rock, which is my all-time favorite lyricist. Some deep cuts, in this 20-year-old album into Buddhist teaching and quilt making. I just have the biggest smile on my face. So, Shuji, thank you so much. That was amazing.
You're welcome. It's always great to find music touching different people, different ways.
Hello, Sangha. My name is Nelson. I've been coming here for a few months now. When I first started coming here, even to this day, I don't really call myself a Buddhist, but I did just make my first altar, so I don't know what that makes me. I don't have a lot of disposable income, but I managed to save some money. It's just a small Buddha statue with a couple candles and an incense holder and some incense, of course. And I've been meditating in front of it. Unfortunately, I've been so excited about it that I can't really calm my mind, but hopefully that'll pass and it'll all be good. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I'd like to share a joy while they're making their way. My name is Igisu. You can also call me Z. My teacher just got out of a month-long retreat, and I'm rejoicing in their efforts to train their mind and work through practicing the teachings on their own so they can bring them back and share them with their students. So just really grateful for that efforts from them.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Jessica. This is my first experience in a location as a group, learning about some practices and rituals. So I am grateful that you are welcoming to us all. I'm in recovery, and I kind of just connected with something else and said about the excitement of all these principles and things we're learning, and I can't slow my mind down. So this is very peaceful today, and I don't know the lady's name, but she was beautiful on the TV there. She talked about The Secret Life of Trees, which is a really awesome book that I started reading when I was locked up in Ottawa County, and I would love to finish that. So I just connected with her there. So to me, I always talk about threads of life and the weaving of all of us together. So I just appreciate that you're all here with open arms and allowing us to experience this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Michaela. I just have a concern for my mom to have clarity as she navigates the waters of divorce after 25 years of marriage to my stepdad. And a joy that I have is yesterday I celebrated 7 months clean and sober.
Nice.
Thank you. And I've been on a journey with the women's program of Guiding Light, and I'm moving into sober living on the 22nd. So I just want to have the strength to keep being a stable person, not only for myself but for my loved ones and my community.
Hi, I'm Alex or Dive Satya. Take your pick. I have a concern and joys as well. The concern I have is that I have a friend who for a couple years has been on a cancer recovery journey, and he had a really great outcomes from some surgeries a few months back where he was declared cancer free, and we we're really hopeful it would stay that way. But just like last week, he on a checkup found that some of it had come back, and they think it can be treated with, he needs to go back into chemo, and there's some other medication treatment options that are looking like hopeful, but it seems like full remission is what we're hoping for. Is probably not going to happen. It'll just be more like, let's see what we can do with treatment as we go along. So yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment, but also he has a really good team of doctors. His husband is super supportive, and the two of them are just good friends of my wife and I. And so yeah, if you could just keep them in your thoughts and send metta their way, that's a concern I have. On the joy side, well, first I want to third now, The Secret Life of Trees. It's a fantastic book, Peter Wellman, so good. That's just a joy that exists in the world, so you should, have a peek at it. And I recently got to travel to Puerto Rico. This is the first time I've in my life got to do the escape to somewhere warm during the winter thing, and that was pretty great. So I feel really grateful for that. Good mixture of relaxation and adventure. And if I can squeeze in one more book recommendation, most of the sitting time during that vacation I was reading Old Path, White Clouds by Thich Nhat Hanh, which is so good. So yeah, here I am using this time for book recommendations. It might happen again some other time. Thank you.
I'll share. Ananda Pula Baba. Good morning, Sangha. It warms my heart to see the guy in light, ladies here. When you walk in, that warms my heart and brings joy to me. And in light of that, the today's share, it's such a wonderful opportunity to stand at the door and greet each and every one of you with a smile in that moment. There's we're sharing my joy is your joy. And in that talk, I super high chills. Yeah, we're all a quilt of joy in that moment that I shared. And so I'm really grateful to all of you for giving me the opportunity.
Do we have any online? We do? Yeah. Okay.
So Kunga says he wants to share a joy for the Bodhisattva class that met yesterday. We have a small group of dedicated Sangha members participating in the group and developing their practice.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
So Kunga says he wants to share a joy for the Bodhisattva class that met yesterday. We have a small group of dedicated Sangha members participating in the group and developing their practice.
With that, we'll take a moment to hold those joys and concerns in our hearts. So for our March announcements, we've got a few. I'll try to keep this quick. Firstly, there is a study that a student came in and is doing for Western University, and this person, Fiona, is studying the spaces between religion and secularity. And the idea is to develop a deeper understanding of spiritual beliefs, practices, communities, and identities. And if you're interested in participating in that study, there is some informational sheets back there. Please pick one up if you're interested in participating and join in. I know she'd appreciate getting a few more people on board so she can widen her results. March announcements. We have a Fundamentals of Buddhism class. This is a great class to learn about your introductory to Buddhism. So we recently had an introductory to meditation from the Tibetan perspective. That's not going to be a class where we really talk about the fundamentals of Buddhism itself. It's going to really be more focused on meditation, whereas this class is going to talk more about Buddha's life, those kinds of things, as well as practices of Buddhism for people who are new or anybody's that it's kind of seeking a refresher course. So if you're interested in attending that, that's Saturday, March 8th from 9 to noon, and it's at the temple. Registration ends on Friday, March 7th. Registration is live on the website. Email Sunshin if you're interested, or just see the newsletter. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, great resource for all the upcoming things that are happening at the temple. We have our online meditation group on Wednesdays, meets on Zoom from 6 to 6:45 p.m. See the newsletter. Dharma discussion group on Thursdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. and it meets at the temple. And that's a book discussion group. If you're interested in more, see the newsletter or email Reverend Jing Su. We have an Avatam Saka study group, and it's on Thursdays. It's bi-weekly, and it meets 7 to 9 p.m. on Discord. See the newsletter. Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board meeting is on Sunday, March 16th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. and it's downstairs, or you can join Google Meets. Sangha members are invited to observe, and they are looking for more people to serve on the board. So it's not hard, but it's a great way to serve your temple. Would really like to try and get more people together. Really, it's just about taking care of this space. How can we get more folks in who want to be a part, want to make a difference, and see this community grow, see our organization grow. So please consider stopping in or reaching out to one of our board members. Kent's here today, and talking to them a little bit more to see what you can do to maybe serve in that way. We also have tech team positions that need to be filled. So tech team isn't hard if you know how to use a computer. All you got to do is click a couple of buttons and follow a couple of prompts, and that's it. Not much more than that. Maybe plug some things in or turn them on and off again. But that's about it, okay? Doesn't take much, so we would really appreciate a couple more people who would like to serve in that way to join our team. All right, Buddhist-based recovery meetings. Mondays, 6:30 p.m. meditation, 7 p.m. meeting at the temple. Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. at the Alano Club. Fridays, 10:05 a.m. meditation, 10:30 a.m. meeting at the temple, or join via Zoom. As always, you can find all of these details on our website at zengr.com or the newsletter. I believe we have one more announcement, and that is our Dana announcement. So our temple operates fully on the donations that are provided to our Sangha. Nobody receives a payment, nobody receives a check. Even the classes that are held, all of those funds go directly to supporting this temple. So whether you can drop $1 into the box over there or set up a monthly payment commitment to saying, I want to take care of this temple in some way financially. And if financially is not within your capacity, there are other ways to serve as well. Coming in and helping clean. There's a Tuesday cleaning group. What time do you meet? Once a month, 10 a.m. It's usually the first Tuesday of the month, right? So if you're available on a Tuesday morning, 10 a.m., you'd like to come in and help clean up a little bit, I know the ladies would really appreciate it. And we've got ladies and gentlemen, the people, the humans. The humans would appreciate it. I'm not going to get too specific. As my daughter will say, look, humans. I'm like, yes, that's an accurate way to describe those people. Because, you just don't know. So please contribute in any way you can. Goods are great too. Bring some tissues, bring some paper towels, or just ask Nikki what we need, or ask a board member what we need. Yes. Yep, that was going to come later. Thank you for catching that, though. Yes. So at this time, at the end, if you can help us gather all these cushions, there's through this closet here is where we store everything. We're going to kind of clean up and put things away to make it a little easier for those cleaners to take care of this space. And and somebody will come around and collect booklets. And apart from that, I don't think there's anything else. Am I missing anything? No, yay, all right. So we're gonna stand up and recite our closing gathas. After this, if you'd like to join us for tea downstairs and conversation, would love to have you. For all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now